The leather chair in Mr. Patterson's office was too stiff, too formal for a moment like this. Mom had been in the ground for exactly 36 hours, and here I sat, surrounded by mahogany and law books, trying to hold myself together in front of the children I'd raised. Maya sat to my left, 20 years old and heartbroken, clutching a tissue. Jordan was on my right, 18 and trying so hard to be the man of the family, his jaw clenched tight. Little Emma, though she wasn't little anymore at 16, had her head on my shoulder, tears soaking through my black dress. My children. Except they weren't mine, not legally, not on paper. They were my sister's. The office door swung open, and the scent hit me before I saw her. Chanel No. 5. Expensive, distinctive, completely out of place in a lawyer's office in our small Ohio town. Vivian swept in like she was arriving at a Parisian gallery opening, not her own mother's will reading. "My babies," she breathed, her arms extended toward Maya, Jordan, and Emma. I watched my sister, 5 years older than me, dressed in a black Dior suit that probably cost more than my monthly salary, embrace the children she hadn't seen in person for almost 2 years. The children she'd left with me 15 years ago for just a few months, while she healed from her husband's death. Emma pulled away first, uncomfortable. She barely remembered her mother living with them. Jordan managed a stiff hug. Only Maya, ever the peacemaker, held on for a moment. "Mom," Maya whispered, and I felt the word like a knife between my ribs. Vivian settled into the chair across from Mr. Patterson's desk, crossing her legs with practiced elegance. She glanced at me, and for just a second something flickered in her eyes, something that made my stomach turn. Then she smiled, warm, sisterly, fake. Mr. Patterson cleared his throat. He'd known our family for 30 years, had drafted Mom's will, and I could see the discomfort in the way he adjusted his glasses. "Thank you all for coming," he began. "I know this is an incredibly difficult time. Margaret was a pillar of this community, and she will be deeply missed." I closed my eyes. Mom. God, I missed her. For all her flaws, all the ways she'd leaned on me too hard, expected too much, she'd been my anchor, my only parent since Dad died when I was 12. As you know, Margaret's estate is substantial. The family home, currently valued at approximately $400,000, plus 2 rental properties in the downtown area, her investment portfolio, and her savings accounts. The total estate is valued at approximately $1.2 million. Emma's hand found mine. She knew, like I knew, that Mom had promised to take care of me, for everything I'd sacrificed, for the 15 years I'd given up to raise Vivian's children while my sister lived her dream life in Paris. Margaret was very clear about her wishes, Mr. Patterson continued, opening the thick document in front of him. She wanted to ensure her grandchildren were provided for and that her daughters were taken care of according to their needs. My heart hammered. According to their needs. That meant something, didn't it? It meant Mom had seen how much I'd given, how much I'd sacrificed. Mr. Patterson began to read. The legal language washed over me at first, dense and formal. Then I started to hear the specifics. To my daughter, Vivienne Marie Rousseau, I leave my entire estate, including the family home at 428 Maple Street, both rental properties, all investment accounts, and the remainder of my savings, with the understanding that these assets will provide stability for her and her 3 children as they build their future together. The words didn't make sense at first. I heard them, but my brain refused to process them. I looked at Maya, whose eyes had gone wide, at Jordan, whose face had flushed red, at Emma, who'd gone perfectly still beside me. To my daughter, Claire Elizabeth Morrison, I leave the sum of $10,000 in recognition of her years of service to this family, with my deepest gratitude. Years of service. Like I'd been the help. Like I'd been a nanny they'd forgotten to pay. The room tilted. I gripped the armrest of my chair, trying to breathe. This had to be a mistake. Mom wouldn't. She couldn't. Not after everything. Not after she'd watched me give up my engagement to David because he wanted his own children, not to raise someone else's. Not after I'd stayed in a basic teaching position instead of pursuing administration because I couldn't work the longer hours required. Not after I'd spent every penny I'd saved on raising 3 children who weren't mine. Not after she'd promised, over and over. You'll be taken care of, Claire. I see what you're doing. You'll be rewarded for your sacrifice. Vivian leaned close to me, so close I could feel her breath against my ear. Finally, she whispered. Just that one word, but the way she said it, satisfied, victorious, like she'd been waiting for this moment for 15 years. My sister straightened, pulling a handkerchief from her purse with practiced grace. "Thank you, Mr. Patterson," she said, her voice thick with manufactured emotion. Mom knew how much I needed this. After losing my husband, trying to rebuild my life, she understood that I needed financial security to properly care for my children. Her children. The children I'd raised. The children I'd held through nightmares and first heartbreaks. The children whose college applications I'd helped with, whose tears I'd dried, whose lives I'd built mine around for 15 years. I couldn't speak. If I opened my mouth, I would scream, or cry, or both. Maya stood abruptly. "This is wrong." "Sweetheart," Vivian began, reaching for her. "Don't." Maya's voice was sharp. "Aunt Claire raised us. She gave up everything for us, everything." "And I'm so grateful to her," Vivian said smoothly. "We all are. But darling, Grandma understood that you needed your real mother, that I needed the resources to be there for you now." "Now?" Jordan's voice was cold. "Where were you for the last 15 years? "I was healing, Jordan. Your father's death." "Dad died 15 years ago." Jordan cut her off. "Emma was one. She doesn't even remember you living with us." The conference room had become a battlefield, and I was frozen in the middle of it, watching my children, no, her children, the law said they were her children, defend me against the woman who'd given birth to them. Mr. Patterson shifted uncomfortably. "Perhaps we should take a moment." "No," Emma said quietly. She was looking at me, her eyes full of tears. "Aunt Claire, say something. Fight this, please." But I couldn't, because the will was clear, because Mom had made her choice, because after 15 years of sacrifice, I'd been dismissed with $10,000 and a pat on the head for my service. I stood on shaking legs. "Excuse me," I managed, my voice barely a whisper. I walked out of that office with whatever dignity I could gather, made it to my car in the parking lot, and finally let myself fall apart. The thing about sacrifice is that you don't see the full price until the bill comes due. I sat in my car in Mr. Patterson's parking lot for 20 minutes, crying so hard I couldn't breathe. My phone buzzed repeatedly, Maya, Jordan, Emma, all trying to reach me, but I couldn't answer. Not yet. Not until I could speak without my voice breaking. When I finally drove home, I went on autopilot. Turn left on Maple. Right on Oak. Pull into the driveway of 428 Maple Street, the house where I'd grown up, where I'd moved back into 15 years ago to help with 3 grieving children, the house that now belonged to my sister. Inside, I walked through rooms full of memories, the kitchen where I'd made 15 years of school lunches, the living room where I'd helped with homework every night, the bedrooms upstairs where I'd read bedtime stories and checked for monsters under beds and talked 3 teenagers through their first heartbreaks. My bedroom, Mom's old sewing room that I'd moved into so the kids could have the bigger rooms, was exactly as I'd left it that morning. Small, cramped. Everything I owned fit into this one room because I'd spent everything else on them. I opened my laptop and pulled up my bank statements, something I'd been avoiding since Mom got sick. Numbers didn't lie. Numbers told the truth that people wouldn't. Checking account, $3,247. Savings, $8,923 retirement fund, $0. I was 42 years old with less than $13,000 to my name. I opened another file. The one I'd kept meticulously, not because I'd ever planned to use it, but because I was a teacher and teachers keep records. 15 years of expenses for raising 3 children. Housing costs. I'd covered property taxes, utilities, maintenance when mom couldn't. $127,000. Food, $156,000. Clothing, $89,000. Medical expenses, $67,000. Vivian's health insurance lapsed twice and I'd covered the gaps. School expenses, $94,000. Extracurriculars, $73,000. Maya's volleyball, Jordan's debate team, Emma's art classes. Cars for the kids, $41,000. Used but reliable. College application fees, SAT prep, tutoring, $23,000. Miscellaneous, birthdays, Christmas, class trips, prom dresses, emergency expenses, $177,000. Total, $847,000. $847,000 of my own money, spent over 15 years on children who weren't mine while their mother sent sporadic checks averaging $400 a month. The math was simple and brutal. Vivian had contributed roughly $72,000 total. I'd covered the rest. And for that, I got $10,000 and the word service. My phone rang. Maya. "Aunt Claire, please come back," she said when I answered. "We're still at the lawyer's office. This isn't right. There has to be something we can do." "Baby, it's okay." "It's not okay." Maya's voice broke. "None of this is okay. You raised us. You gave up your whole life for us. Grandma left everything to Mom, who wasn't even here, who didn't do anything." "Maya." I tried to keep my voice steady. "Your grandmother made her choice. The will is legal. It's done." "Then we'll fight it. Jordan's already looking up estate lawyers. There has to be a way to contest it." "With what money, sweetheart? I can't afford—" "We'll figure it out. Please, Aunt Claire, don't give up." But I was so tired. Tired of fighting. Tired of sacrificing. Tired of being the one who held everything together while everyone else got to fall apart. "Let me think about it, okay? I just need some time." After I hung up, I sat in the silence of that small bedroom and let myself imagine what my life could have been. I could have married David. He'd loved me, genuinely loved me, and he'd wanted children of our own. But he couldn't handle raising 3 kids who weren't his, who came with trauma and needs, and a mother who might swoop back in at any moment. I could have pursued that principal position at Jefferson High. They'd wanted me. But principals worked 60-hour weeks, attended evening events, couldn't leave at 3 p.m. to pick up kids from school. I could have traveled, saved money, built a retirement fund, had my own children. Instead, I'd given it all away, and my mother had watched me do it, had encouraged it, had promised me it wouldn't be for nothing, and then she'd left everything to Vivian. My phone buzzed, a text from Vivian. "We need to talk about the house. Can you come back tomorrow?" The house? Of course. The house that was now hers. I typed back, "What about it?" Her response came quickly. "I'm moving back permanently. The kids need their mother. I'll need you to find another place. 30 days should be enough time." I stared at that message for a long time. 30 days. She was giving me 30 days to leave the home where I'd raised her children, where I'd sacrificed everything, and she'd get it all. The house, the money, the kids. I thought about that whisper in the lawyer's office. Finally. Finally, what? Finally, she could reclaim the life she'd abandoned. Finally, she could have her children back without having done the work of raising them. Finally, she could cash in on Mom's estate while I walked away with nothing. Something inside me shifted. Not anger exactly. I was too exhausted for rage, but something colder, clearer. For 15 years, I'd been the good daughter, the responsible sister, the selfless aunt. I'd swallowed every hurt, accepted every burden, made every sacrifice. And where had it gotten me? I looked around my tiny bedroom at the life I'd put on hold for 15 years. Maybe it was time to stop being so good. The next morning, I woke up to find Maya, Jordan, and Emma sitting on my bed. "We have a key," Emma said when I jolted upright. "Sorry for breaking in." "We need to show you something," Jordan added, his laptop balanced on his knees. I rubbed my eyes, still wearing yesterday's clothes. I'd fallen asleep on top of the covers sometime around 2 a.m. "Kids, I don't—" "Just look," Maya said firmly. Jordan turned the laptop toward me. On the screen was a PDF of a legal document. "I was going through Grandma's papers for my FAFSA," Maya explained, "looking for tax documents. I found this in her filing cabinet. It was a will, Mom's will, but not the one Mr. Patterson had read yesterday. This one was dated 8 years ago. I started reading, and my hands began to shake. To my daughters, Vivian Marie Rousseau and Claire Elizabeth Morrison, I leave my estate to be divided as follows: 60% to Claire, in recognition of her extraordinary sacrifice and devotion to her sister's children and to me in my time of need. 40% to Vivian, with the understanding that she will use these funds to build a stable future." "There's more," Jordan said quietly. He scrolled down to a paragraph highlighted in yellow. "Claire has given up opportunities for her own marriage, family, and career advancement to raise Vivian's children with love and dedication. She has been both daughter and caregiver to me. This division reflects not punishment for Vivienne, but acknowledgement of Claire's profound sacrifice." I couldn't breathe. "When was this dated?" "March 2018, Maya said. 8 years ago. Grandma changed it." "When?" The word came out as a whisper. Jordan pulled up another document. "This is the will Mr. Patterson read yesterday. It's dated July 2024, 18 months ago. 18 months ago, when Mom's dementia had started, when she'd begun getting confused, forgetting things, needing more care that I'd provided, while Vivian sent flowers and made video calls." "There's something else," Emma said softly. She handed me a stack of papers. I found these in Grandma's desk, emails, printed out. The first one was from Vivian to Mom, dated August 2023. "Mom, we need to talk about your will. I know you want to recognize Claire's help, but think about it practically. She has a stable job, no dependents, no major expenses. I have 3 children to provide for. I'm the one who needs the financial security. Claire is strong. She'll be fine. But I need this, Mom, for your grandchildren." I read email after email. Vivian's campaign had been methodical, persistent, wearing Mom down over months. "Claire chose her path. I didn't force her to raise my kids. You're leaving her more than I'll ever give her in return. That hardly seems fair to me. The kids and I have been discussing moving back to the States. We want to be close to you, Mom. But we'll need the house. We'll need the security." And slowly, I watched my mother's responses change. At first, "Vivian, Claire has sacrificed so much. I can in good conscience." Then, "I understand your concerns. Let me think about it." Finally, "I've made an appointment with Mr. Patterson to revise the will. You're right. The children need stability." "There's one more," Maya said. She was crying now. "From Mom to Grandma, right before Grandma changed the will." The email was brief. "I'll call you next week to make sure everything is finalized. Don't mention this to Claire. She'll understand eventually. You know how she is. Always trying to play the martyr. This way she can't guilt you about it later. It's cleaner if she just finds out after. I had to read it 3 times before the words made sense. They'd planned this. Together. They'd conspired to cut me out, to take everything I'd earned through 15 years of sacrifice, and they'd done it deliberately, secretly, knowing exactly what they were taking from me. The betrayal wasn't just the will. It was the calculation behind it, the cold, premeditated decision to exploit my love, my sense of duty, my goodness. "Aunt Claire," Jordan said carefully, "the dates matter. The emails show Vivienne knew about Grandma's cognitive decline. She used it. She manipulated her when she was most vulnerable. He was right. I could see it in the timeline. Mom's confusion had started in early 2023. By late 2023, she'd needed help remembering to take medications. By the time she'd changed her will in July 2024, she'd been forgetting appointments, mixing up names. Mr. Patterson had even mentioned it at the time. He'd called me, concerned. "Your mother seemed uncertain today," he'd said. "I wanted to make sure she really wanted these changes to her will." And I'd reassured him. She knows what she's doing. She's still sharp about the important things. Because I'd trusted my mother. And my sister. Maya squeezed my hand. "This is undue influence. It's exactly what estate lawyers look for when they contest wills. Grandma wasn't in her right mind. Mom pressured her. There's documented proof." "Fighting it costs money," I said automatically. "Money I don't have." "You have $10,000 from the will," Jordan pointed out. "That's a retainer." "And we have proof," Emma added. "Real proof. The old will, the emails, everything." I looked at these three people, these children I'd raised, these young adults who'd become my whole world. They were looking at me with hope, with determination, with love. "I don't want you kids in the middle of this," I said carefully. "We're not kids anymore," Maya said firmly. "I'm 20, Jordan's 18, Emma's 16. We know what happened. We know who raised us. We know who loved us. And we know who abandoned us," Jordan added, his voice hard. "Mom can't just swoop in now and play house, not after everything." Emma leaned her head on my shoulder, exactly like she'd done as a little girl. "Please fight, Aunt Claire, please. You deserve this." I closed my eyes. For 15 years, I'd taught these children to be kind, to be fair, to be good. I'd taught them that family meant something, that sacrifice mattered, that love was more important than money. And now they were teaching me that sometimes being good meant standing up for yourself, that sometimes love meant demanding justice. "Okay," I whispered. "Okay, we'll fight." The law office of Patricia Chen was nothing like Mr. Patterson's wood-paneled establishment. It was modern, efficient, with glass walls and sleek furniture. Ms. Chen herself was a woman in her 50s with sharp eyes and an even sharper reputation for handling estate disputes. "I've reviewed the documents your niece sent over," she said, spreading papers across her conference table. Maya, Jordan, and Emma sat beside me, a united front. "This is one of the clearest cases of undue influence I've seen in 20 years of practice." "Can we win?" I asked. "Let me be direct with you, Ms. Morrison. We can absolutely build a case. Whether we win depends on several factors." She ticked them off on her fingers. "First, proving your mother lacked testamentary capacity when she changed her will. Second, demonstrating undue influence by your sister. Third, establishing that you have standing to contest and showing damages." "I can help with the first one," Maya said. She pulled out another folder. "I talked to Grandma's doctor. Off the record, he was concerned about her decision-making in her final year. He documented cognitive decline in her medical records, starting in March 2023. Ms. Chen raised an eyebrow. "Impressive initiative. Can he testify?" "He said he'd tell the truth if subpoenaed." "Good." Ms. Chen made a note. "Second, the undue influence. These emails are damning, but we need more. Did anyone witness your sister pressuring your mother? Any neighbors, friends, other family?" I thought back. Mom's best friend, Susan. She mentioned once that Vivian's visits always left Mom upset. She said Vivian would talk for hours about money troubles. "We'll depose her. Third, you're standing. You're named in the will, which gives you standing to contest. But we need to demonstrate damages. You mentioned you spent 15 years raising your sister's children." I kept records. I pulled out my laptop, opened my spreadsheet. $847,000, documented, receipts for everything major. Miss Chen's eyes widened. "You kept 15 years of financial records?" "I'm a teacher. I keep everything." For the first time, she smiled. "Ms. Morrison, you might just be my favorite client. This is exactly what we need." She typed rapidly on her own laptop. "Here's what we're going to argue. Your sister abandoned her children, pressured your mother during cognitive decline, and manipulated her way to an inheritance that should have been yours. We're going to seek not just to overturn the will, but to get you restitution for those childcare expenses." Restitution? I hadn't even thought about that possibility. "You provided 15 years of unpaid labor. Under quantum meruit, compensation for services rendered, we can argue you're owed for childcare services. The court can order your sister to pay you back." Emma grabbed my hand. "You could actually get paid for raising us?" "The legal theory is solid," Ms. Chen said, "especially combined with fraud. Your sister essentially got free childcare through deception, then swooped in to claim the children and the inheritance." Jordan leaned forward. "What about us? Can we testify?" "You're adults, or nearly so. Your testimony about who actually raised you will be powerful. But I need to warn you, this will get ugly. Your mother's lawyers will try to paint your aunt as bitter, as trying to turn you against your biological mother." "Let them try," Maya said coldly. "We know the truth." Over the next 2 weeks, we built our case. Dr. Harrison, Mom's physician, provided detailed records of her cognitive decline, the medications she was on, the missed appointments, the time she'd forgotten she'd already paid her water bill and paid it 3 more times. Susan Chang, Mom's best friend of 40 years, sat in Ms. Chen's office and told us about Vivian's visits. "Margaret would be a wreck after Vivian left," Susan said. "She'd say, 'I don't know what to do. Vivian needs so much. Claire is so strong. Maybe Vivian is right.'" "Did Margaret ever express doubt about changing her will?" Ms. Chen asked. "The week before she went to Mr. Patterson, she called me crying. She said, 'I'm making a terrible mistake, but I don't know what else to do. Vivian won't stop calling.' I asked what mistake, but she wouldn't say. We found more emails, more evidence of Vivian's campaign, and then Jordan made a discovery that changed everything. He came to my apartment, the tiny 1-bedroom I'd rented after Vivian gave me my 30-day notice, with his phone in his hand and a strange look on his face. "I need to tell you something," he said, "and you're going to be angry I didn't tell you sooner." My stomach dropped. What happened? 2 weeks ago, before we knew about any of this, Mom called me. He wouldn't meet my eyes. She wanted to have lunch, just the 2 of us. She took me to that expensive French place downtown. "Okay," I said carefully. She spent the whole time talking about how amazing it was going to be, living together as a real family. She kept going on about the house, the money, how she could finally give us the life we deserved. He paused. So I asked her why she left in the first place, why she stayed away for 15 years. I waited. She laughed. Aunt Claire. She actually laughed. Jordan's voice was shaking now. She said, "I was never really that broken after your father died. I mean, I was sad, but not incapacitated. I just realized, why should I struggle through the hard years when Mom would guilt your aunt into doing it for free?" The words hit me like a physical blow. I didn't believe her at first. Jordan continued. So I said something like, "You were really sick, though. You had that breakdown." And she said, "I had grief, Jordan. Normal grief. But I knew if I played it up, if I made it seem like I couldn't function, your grandmother would make sure someone took care of you. And Claire always did what was expected. She's predictable that way." "Did you—" I couldn't finish the sentence. Jordan pulled out his phone. "I recorded the whole conversation. I've been recording our calls with her since she started calling more after Grandma got sick. Just a habit from debate team. I record everything for evidence. I didn't think I'd ever actually need it." He pressed play. Vivian's voice filled the small apartment, tinny through the phone speaker, but unmistakably her. Light, amused, callous. Why raise 3 kids when my boring sister would do it for free? Paris was always my dream, Jordan. I wasn't going to give that up for diapers and terrible twos and middle school drama. I figured Claire would do it for a few years, then I could come back when you were all interesting people instead of screaming toddlers. Jordan's voice on the recording. But what about Aunt Claire? Didn't you think about what she was giving up? Vivian laughed. Claire loves playing the martyr. She probably enjoyed it, being needed, being important. Besides, she didn't have anything better to do. No husband, no real ambition. At least with you kids, she had a purpose. The recording went on. Vivian admitting she'd maintained minimal contact deliberately, admitting she'd never intended to come back until Mom got sick and the inheritance was on the table, admitting she'd pressured Mom to change the will because Claire is stronger, she'll land on her feet, she always does. When it ended, I sat in silence. "I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner," Jordan said. "I was just so angry I didn't know what to do with it." "Have you shown this to your sisters?" "Not yet. I wanted you to hear it first." He looked at me. This boy I'd raised, this young man I'd taught to drive and helped with college essays and held when he cried about his dad. I want to use it in court. I want everyone to hear what she really is. I thought about that recording, about my sister's casual cruelty, about 15 years of my life dismissed as me having nothing better to do. "Show it to Ms. Chen," I said quietly. "Show it to your sisters. And yes, Jordan, we'll use it in court." The petition to contest the will was filed on a cold Tuesday in November, exactly 4 months after Mom's death. Vivian called me within an hour. "What the hell are you doing?" she hissed into the phone. No pretense of sisterly warmth now. "You're actually going to drag our family through court? Over money?" "Over betrayal," I said calmly. I'd learned something in the past few weeks. Once you stop being afraid of losing what you've already lost, you become very hard to intimidate. Over fraud. Over 15 years of my life that you and Mom decided to treat as worthless. You're being ridiculous. Mom made her choice. It's legal. Was it legal when you manipulated a woman with dementia? When you pressured her repeatedly while she was on medications that affected her judgment? Silence. Then, "I have no idea what you're talking about." "We have the emails, Vivian. All of them. We have medical records showing Mom's cognitive decline. We have witnesses. We have everything. You can't prove. We can prove all of it. See you in court." I hung up. Ms. Chen had prepared me for this, for Vivian's rage, her denials, her attempts to intimidate me into dropping the case, but I was done being intimidated. The preliminary hearing was scheduled for January. In the meantime, depositions began. Mr. Patterson, looking deeply uncomfortable, confirmed that he'd had concerns about Mom's mental state when she changed her will. "I asked her several times if she was certain," he testified. "She seemed confused about the details. She kept saying Vivian needed it more, but she couldn't articulate why." Dr. Harrison testified about Mom's declining cognitive function, the medications that affected judgment, his professional opinion that she likely lacked testamentary capacity in her final year. Susan Chang cried as she described her final conversation with Mom. She said, "I've done something terrible to Claire, but I don't know how to fix it now." I think she knew at the end. I think she regretted it. And then came Vivian's deposition. I wasn't allowed in the room, but Ms. Chen emerged 3 hours later with a grim smile. "She cracked," Ms. Chen said. "Not completely, but enough. When we confronted her with the emails, she first claimed they were taken out of context. When we pressed on the timing, all during your mother's documented cognitive decline, she started contradicting herself. She admitted pressuring your mother, but claimed it was just advocating for her children's needs." That's not enough to win, is it? Not by itself, but combined with everything else? We're building an overwhelming case. She paused. There's something else. Vivian's lawyer advised her to settle. She refused. Why would she refuse to settle? Pride, greed, or she genuinely believes she did nothing wrong. Ms. Chen shrugged. Some people can't see their own cruelty. They justify it so thoroughly that it becomes truth in their own minds. The real breakthrough came in December. Maya was home from college for winter break when she found the final piece of evidence. She'd been going through old photo albums, looking for pictures of Mom for a memorial project, when she found something tucked into the back of one album, a handwritten letter from Mom to me, dated 6 months before she died, never sent. Dearest Claire, I need to tell you something, but I'm too much of a coward to say it to your face. I've changed my will. I've left everything to Vivian. I know this is wrong. I know you deserve more, deserve everything. You've sacrificed your whole life for this family, but Vivian won't leave me alone. She calls every day. She cries about money. She tells me the kids need stability. She wears me down until I can't think straight, and the medications make everything fuzzy. I can't seem to hold on to a thought long enough to fight her. I'm so tired, Claire. I know I'm being weak. I know I'm betraying you. I know that after I'm gone, you'll find out what I've done, and you'll hate me. You should hate me. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. You deserved better from your mother. You deserved better from this family. I hope someday you can forgive me, though I don't deserve it. I'm too weak to fix this now. I'm too weak to stand up to Vivian. I'm just so tired. I love you. That has to count for something. Mom Maya brought it to me with tears streaming down her face. Grandma knew. She sobbed. She knew it was wrong, and she let it happen anyway. I read that letter sitting on my couch in my tiny apartment, and something inside me finally broke free. Not anger, not pain, clarity. Mom had been weak, Vivian had been cruel, and I had been strong enough to carry everyone's burdens while they took advantage of that strength. But I was done carrying burdens that weren't mine. Make a copy, I told Maya. Give it to Ms. Chen. We'll need it for court. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. Wood paneling, a judge's bench, tables for both legal teams. In the gallery behind us sat Susan Chang, Dr. Harrison, and a handful of neighbors who'd watched me raise 3 children for 15 years. Vivian sat at the defendant's table in another expensive suit, her lawyer whispering to her. She looked confident, composed. She looked like someone who'd never faced real consequences in her life. Judge Martinez was a woman in her 60s with steel gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She'd reviewed all the pre-trial documents. She knew what this case was about. Ms. Chen stood to make her opening statement. Your Honor, this case is about exploitation. It's about a woman who abandoned her 3 children and manipulated her mentally declining mother to steal an inheritance from the sister who sacrificed everything to raise those children. The evidence will show clear undue influence, lack of testamentary capacity, fraud, and unjust enrichment. We're asking the court to void the current will, reinstate the previous will, and grant restitution to Ms. Morrison for 15 years of unpaid child care services. Vivian's lawyer, a slick man named Richard Thornton, countered smoothly, Your Honor, this is simply a case of a disappointed beneficiary trying to overturn her mother's valid last wishes. Ms. Rousseau is a grieving daughter and mother who was dealing with profound mental health issues after her husband's death. She needed time to heal. Her mother understood that and made provisions accordingly. Ms. Morrison's allegations of manipulation are baseless and insulting to both her sister and her late mother's memory. The first witnesses were technical. Dr. Harrison testified about Mom's cognitive decline. An expert in geriatric psychology explained how certain medications affected judgment. Mr. Patterson uncomfortably described Mom's confusion during the will change. Then came Susan Chang. How long did you know Margaret Morrison? Mrs. Chen asked. 43 years. We met when our daughters were in elementary school. In those 43 years, did you observe the relationship between Margaret and her daughters? I did. Claire was always the reliable one. When Margaret's husband died, Claire stepped up. When Vivian's husband died, Claire stepped up again. Margaret leaned on Claire for everything. And what about Vivian? Susan's voice hardened. Vivian took. That's what she did. She took her mother's time, her money, her peace of mind, especially in those last 2 years. Can you describe Margaret's state of mind during that time? She was declining, forgetting things, getting confused easily, and Vivian used that. Susan looked directly at Vivian. She'd call Margaret and talk for hours about money, about needs, about how hard her life was. Margaret would be exhausted afterward, crying. She told me she didn't know what to do. Vivian wouldn't stop asking. Thornton's cross-examination tried to suggest Susan was biased toward me, but Susan was unshakable. "I'm biased toward the truth," she said firmly, "and the truth is that Claire gave up her life for those children while Vivian lived in Paris. That's not opinion. That's fact." Then Maya took the stand. Ms. Chen walked her through the basics: age, relationship to both Vivian and me, living situation for the past 15 years. "Who raised you, Maya?" "Aunt Claire." Maya's voice was steady. She was there for everything: first day of school, learning to drive, college applications, everything that mattered. "And your mother?" "She video called sometimes, visited maybe twice a year, sent gifts." "Did you consider her your primary caregiver?" "No, Aunt Claire was my mother in every way that mattered." Thornton tried to paint Maya as ungrateful, as turned against her mother by me. "Isn't it true that Ms. Morrison has been filling your head with negative views of your mother?" "No," Maya said calmly. "Aunt Claire never said a bad word about my mom, even when Mom barely called, even when she missed my high school graduation. Aunt Claire always made excuses for her, told us Mom was healing, that she loved us. Aunt Claire protected Mom's image to us for 15 years. Then why are you here testifying against your own mother?" Maya looked at Vivian for a long moment. "Because I'm not testifying against my mother. I'm testifying for her. Aunt Claire is my mother. She earned that, and I won't let her be erased." Emma testified next, younger and more emotional, but no less clear. She described growing up with me, barely remembering Vivian living with them. "I used to think I was supposed to love my mom more because she gave birth to me," Emma said, crying. "But Aunt Claire was the one who held me when I had nightmares, who helped me with my art projects, who sat with me for hours when I was struggling. That's love. That's what a mother does." Then came Jordan. Miss Chen had prepared me that this would be the turning point. Jordan was 18, articulate, and he had the recording. After establishing the basics, Ms. Chen said, "Did you have a conversation with your mother in September about why she left when you were young?" "I did." "Can you tell the court what was said?" Jordan recounted the conversation. Vivian's admission that she hadn't been that broken, that she'd chosen Paris over raising her children, that she'd counted on me being predictable. Thornton objected repeatedly, hearsay, taken out of context, prejudicial. "Your Honor," Ms. Chen said calmly, "we have a recording of this conversation, made by Mr. Morrison Rousseau with his own phone. It's not hearsay, it's a direct admission." Judge Martinez leaned forward. "You recorded your mother?" "I record all my conversations for debate team," Jordan explained. "It's a habit. I keep everything for evidence review." "I'll allow it," the judge said. "But Mr. Morrison Rousseau, please explain the context of this recording." Jordan did. The lunch invitation, his questions, Vivian's unexpected candor. "Play the recording," Judge Martinez ordered. In the silent courtroom, Vivian's voice played from the speakers. Every word, every laugh, every casual dismissal of her children's childhood and my sacrifice. Why raise 3 kids when my boring sister would do it for free? I watched Vivian's face drain of color. I watched the jury members, this was a bench trial, but there were court observers, shift uncomfortably. When it ended, the silence was deafening. "Ms. Rousseau," Judge Martinez said slowly, "you'll have an opportunity to address this in your testimony." Vivian took the stand that afternoon. Under questioning from her own lawyer, she tried to walk back the recording. It was taken out of context. She'd been upset. She didn't mean it the way it sounded. Then Ms. Chen stood for cross-examination. "Ms. Rousseau, let's talk about your mental health crisis after your husband's death. You testified that you were incapacitated, that you needed psychiatric care. Yes. Do you have medical records supporting this? Vivian hesitated. I was seeing a therapist in Paris. We've subpoenaed those records. According to your therapist's notes, you were experiencing normal grief, not clinical depression or breakdown. Is that accurate? It felt like a breakdown to me. But it wasn't. Medically speaking, you were experiencing grief and stress, which your therapist recommended you work through with support, not incapacitation that required abandoning your children. I couldn't function. You functioned well enough to move to Paris, to establish a life there, to travel throughout Europe. We have your social media posts, Ms. Rousseau, photos from your time in Paris, art galleries, restaurants, vacations. Does that look like incapacitation to you? Ms. Chen pulled up Instagram photos on a screen. Vivienne at the Louvre, Vivienne at a cafe in Provence, Vivienne on a yacht in Monaco, all dated within the first 2 years after her husband's death. While I was changing diapers and dealing with toddler tantrums and trying to help 3 traumatized children grieve their father, I was trying to heal. By abandoning your children and living a luxury lifestyle while your sister raised them on a teacher's salary, I sent money. $400 a month on average for 3 children. Ms. Morrison has documented spending over $800,000. Your contribution covered less than 10% of the cost. Is that accurate? Vivian couldn't answer. Let's talk about your mother's will. You sent her dozens of emails about changing it during her cognitive decline, when she was on medications that affected her judgment. Why? I was advocating for my children's future. Your children who you abandoned? Your children who were being raised by the sister you were trying to disinherit? Miss Chen's voice was sharp. Ms. Rousseau, let's be honest with the court. You manipulated a confused, mentally declining elderly woman to steal an inheritance from the person who actually sacrificed for this family. Isn't that the truth? No, my mother wanted me to have it. Did she? Ms. Chen pulled out Mom's unsent letter. The court has admitted a letter written by your mother 6 months before her death, written in her own hand. Let me read a portion. I know this is wrong. I know you deserve more, deserve everything. You've sacrificed your whole life for this family, but Vivian won't leave me alone. She wears me down until I can't think straight. Vivian's face went white. Your mother knew she was being manipulated. She knew it was wrong. She was just too weak and confused to resist you. You exploited your own mother's dementia to steal from your sister. Is that accurate? I didn't. She wanted. Vivian was falling apart now, her composure crumbling. Claire was always the strong one. Everyone always praised her, always said how wonderful she was. I needed something too. I needed to be taken care of for once. So you let your sister raise your children for 15 years, then swooped in to take everything, the children, the house, the money, because you needed to be taken care of? Yes, Vivian screamed. Then she seemed to realize what she'd admitted. No, that's not... No further questions, Your Honor. The courtroom was silent except for Vivian's quiet sobbing. Judge Martinez called a brief recess. When we returned, she'd made her decision. I've reviewed all the evidence presented. The medical records showing cognitive decline, the emails demonstrating a pattern of pressure and manipulation, the recording of Ms. Rousseau's own admissions, the testimony of witnesses and family members, the letter from the deceased clearly stating she knew her decision was wrong but felt powerless to resist. She looked directly at Vivian. The pattern is clear. This is one of the most egregious cases of undue influence I've encountered. Ms. Rousseau deliberately exploited her mother's diminished mental capacity to manipulate her into changing her will. She did so with full knowledge that her sister had sacrificed 15 years and hundreds of thousands of dollars to raise the children she had abandoned. Vivian's lawyer tried to object. Judge Martinez held up her hand. I'm not finished. Furthermore, Ms. Rousseau's own recorded admissions demonstrate fraud. She admits she was not incapacitated. She admits she deliberately allowed her sister to raise her children because it was convenient. She admits she manipulated the situation to her benefit. The judge turned to me. Ms. Morrison, you are the victim of profound betrayal by both your sister and, sadly, your late mother. This court finds that the will dated July 2024 was procured through undue influence and is therefore void. The previous will, dated March 2018, is reinstated. She wasn't done. Furthermore, under the doctrine of quantum meruit, Ms. Rousseau is ordered to pay restitution to Ms. Morrison for child care services rendered. The court calculates this at half the documented expenses, $423,500, to be paid within 90 days. Vivian made a choking sound. The estate division under the reinstated will give Ms. Morrison 60%, $720,000, and Ms. Rousseau 40%, $480,000. After restitution, Ms. Rousseau will net approximately $56,000 from this estate. Judge Martinez's voice hardened. Ms. Rousseau, let me be clear. You abandoned your children. You exploited your sister. You manipulated your dying mother. You have no one to blame but yourself for these consequences. This court finds your actions reprehensible and awards the family home at 428 Maple Street to Ms. Morrison as part of her inheritance. She banged her gavel. This hearing is adjourned. Vivian didn't speak to me as we left the courtroom. She didn't look at the children. She simply walked out, her lawyer trailing behind her, and I never saw her again. The kids wanted to celebrate, but I felt strangely empty. I'd won. I'd gotten justice, but it didn't erase the betrayal. It didn't give me back 15 years. Come on, Maya said gently. Let's go home. Home. The house on Maple Street. My house now. The house where I'd raised 3 children who weren't mine by law, but were mine in every way that mattered. Over the next few weeks, the settlement was finalized. The money transferred. The deed to the house changed to my name. Vivian returned to Paris. I heard through Susan that she tried to contact the kids a few times, but they didn't respond. Maya told me later that Vivian had sent a long email attempting to justify everything, blaming Mom, blaming me, blaming everyone but herself. I didn't even finish reading it, Maya said. She still doesn't get it. Some people never do. The story spread through our small town. People I barely knew stopped me in the grocery store to say they were glad I'd won. Former students sent messages of support. The local paper ran a story about the case. Local teacher wins justice after 15 years of sacrifice. But the real changes were quieter. Jordan decided to study law. I want to help people like you, he said. People who get taken advantage of because they're good. Emma started calling me Mom instead of Aunt Claire. Not all the time, but sometimes, when it felt natural. Maya asked if she could move back home while she finished her social work degree. If that's okay, she added quickly. I know you might want your space now. This is your home too, I told her. It always has been. I used part of my inheritance to finally pursue that graduate degree I'd put off. Enrolled in an administration program, started dating again. Nothing serious yet, but there was a kind man named Robert who made me laugh and didn't mind that I came with 3 almost adult kids. But mostly, I worked on forgiving myself because I realized that part of what hurt so much wasn't just what Vivian and Mom had done to me. It was what I'd let them do, how I'd swallowed my own needs for so long that I'd almost forgotten I had any. I'd been so busy being good, being selfless, being the reliable one, that I'd taught everyone in my life that I didn't need anything, that I could be used up and discarded. Never again. The garden behind the house on Maple Street had always been Mom's pride. After she died, I'd let it go wild, too overwhelmed to maintain it. But this spring, I decided to reclaim it. I was planting roses on a Sunday afternoon when Emma came outside with 2 glasses of lemonade. "Hey, Mom," she said casually, handing me a glass. "Mom." It still made my heart skip. "Thanks, baby." Emma settled onto the grass beside me. She was 18 now, graduated from high school with honors, headed to art school in the fall. "I got an email from Vivian," she said quietly. My hand stilled on the rose bush. What did she want? To reconnect. She said she's been in therapy. She understands now why we were angry. She wants another chance. "What did you say?" "Nothing yet. I wanted to talk to you first." Emma pulled up a handful of grass, not meeting my eyes. "Part of me feels guilty. She's my biological mother. Shouldn't I—" "Should you what?" "Forgive her. Forget what she did? Give her the relationship she threw away 15 years ago?" I set down my trowel, turned to face her fully. "Emma, listen to me. You don't owe her anything. Not your time, not your forgiveness, not your guilt. But she made her choices. Every single day for 15 years, she chose not to be your mother. She chose Paris over you. Then she tried to take everything from me after I raised you. Those were her choices. You're allowed to have boundaries. You're allowed to protect yourself." Emma's eyes filled with tears. "I don't want a relationship with her. Is that okay? Does that make me a bad person?" I pulled her into my arms. This girl I'd rocked through nightmares and helped through first heartbreaks and loved with everything I had. It makes you a person who knows your worth, who doesn't let people back in just because they share your DNA. That makes you strong, not bad. "I love you, Mom. I love you too." Later that evening, the whole family gathered for dinner. Maya was home from grad school for the weekend. Jordan was on break from law school. My boyfriend Robert was there, fitting into our chaotic family dynamic with easy grace. We'd started a tradition of Sunday dinners, all of us together. Sometimes Robert's adult daughter joined us. Sometimes Susan came by. It was loud and messy and perfect. After dinner, Robert and I sat on the porch while the kids cleaned up inside. "You seem happy," he observed. "I am." And I meant it. For the first time in a long time, I feel like I'm living my own life instead of everyone else's. "You're an amazing woman, Claire. What you did for those kids." "I did it because I love them. I still do. But I'm learning to love myself too, to have boundaries, to know I deserve good things." He took my hand. "You deserve everything." Inside, I could hear the kids laughing, Maya's voice rising above the others, Emma singing off-key, Jordan's deeper laugh joining in. I'd lost 15 years. I'd been betrayed by the people I trusted most. I'd had to fight for basic recognition of my sacrifice. But sitting on that porch, listening to my children, the law finally agreed, fill the house with life, I realized something. I hadn't lost everything. I'd gained 3 incredible humans who chose me every single day, who saw my worth when no one else did, who fought for me when I was too tired to fight for myself. The money helped. The house helped. The justice helped. But this family we'd built from trauma and betrayal and love, this was what mattered. Maya came to the door. "Mom, we're about to start the movie. You coming?" "Yeah, baby, I'm coming." I stood, Robert following me inside to where my life, my real, chosen, hard-won life, was waiting. 3 years after the trial, I received a letter. It was from Vivian, forwarded to me through Ms. Chen, who'd remained my attorney for estate management. I almost threw it away unopened, but curiosity won. "Claire, I don't expect you to respond to this. I don't expect forgiveness. I'm writing because my therapist says I need to acknowledge the truth, even if it changes nothing. You were right. About all of it. I abandoned my children. I exploited you. I manipulated Mom. I was cruel and selfish, and I destroyed any chance of a relationship with my own kids because I couldn't be bothered to do the hard work of being a parent. I tell myself stories, that I was traumatized, that I needed time, that you were better at it anyway. But the truth is simpler and uglier. I didn't want to. I wanted my life to be about me, and 3 kids didn't fit that vision. I thought I could have it both ways, the freedom of childlessness with the option to swoop in and claim motherhood when they were old enough to be interesting. I thought you'd just accept it, because you always accepted everything. I don't know if you'll believe this, but I am sorry. Not because I lost the money or the house or the kids, but because I finally understand what I took from you. Your 20s, your 30s, your chance at your own family, your dreams. I took everything and gave nothing. And you loved my children anyway. I know Maya, Jordan, and Emma want nothing to do with me. I don't blame them. You're their mother. You earned that in every way that matters. I just wanted you to know that I finally see it. I see what you gave. I see what I destroyed. I see who you are. And I'm sorry. Vivienne. I read the letter twice. Then I folded it carefully and put it in a drawer. Maybe one day I'd forgive her. Maybe not. But that was my choice to make, my boundary to set, my life to live. And for the first time in my life, I was choosing myself. I walked downstairs to where Emma was painting at the kitchen table. Maya was on the phone with her boyfriend, and Jordan was studying for his law finals. My family, my life, my peace, earned, fought for, mine. "Mom," Emma called out, "can you look at this painting? I can't decide if it's done." I smiled. "Of course, sweetheart. Some endings aren't happy. They're just real, just honest, just enough. And sometimes, that's everything."